Okie doke, let's get the show on the road. Hey folks, this is Ray from DCRaymaker.com. Today I've got Suunto's new Spartan Ultra GPS watch. Now this watch was first announced back in June, kind of they teased a few details then, and then you got to July, they announced a bit more details, most of the details in fact. Now here we are in August, and they're just getting ready to start shipping. This is one of the first units off the line, and it's the Ultra edition, so there's both the Ultra and the Sport. The Sport is the lower end one, or the cheaper one basically, and that kind of compares to the past where they had the Sport and the Peak models. They always had like two different differentiating models there, and then usually a run model below all that. But right now they're just announcing, or just basically starting to ship the Ultra and the Sport. Later on this year, though, we're going to get the optical heart rate sensor enabled variant, which means it'll have an optical heart rate sensor for your wrist. That'll be just on the Sport, not the Ultra, not the higher end ones, so just keep that in mind. This one here is white. It says that right there. It comes in a couple different colors. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and unbox this, and then after that I'm going to compare it to some of the other watches I've got sitting over there on the pile, just to give you kind of a brief size comparison. You'll definitely want to stay tuned to the channel though, because I'll be doing lots more on this watch and many other watches, so definitely hit that subscribe button down below. In the meantime, let's get started. So it's got an outer shell, just like you typically see on Suunto's box design. This is pretty much identical to Suunto's box design for ever. So there's that. We can then open this up like this, and inside you'll see the watch sitting there ready to be plucked out. So again, I've got the white edition. There are different color variants, band variants. And oops, I just dropped everything out the bottom. So looks like here is the USB charging cable. So we got that there, right there. Put that back, and we've got a single Suunto sticker to stick on your forehead right there. And then inside we've got two more pieces of paper. So it looks like the Suunto Spartan Ultra Quick Start Guide, and then a warranty that tells you not to kill yourself, basically. So move that to there, move this there, and then we've got that. So two pieces of paper so far. We've got the watch itself. Let's go ahead and take that out. There we go. We'll take the foam thingy out. Okay, put that back in this little box, and then dump out the goods. So we got a charging cable and a sticker. So the charging cable, if we crack that open, it's not micro USB like some, which is great because you don't really want micro USB on a waterproof type wearable. It never really works out. I mean, if you go to like CES, you'll find a hardware vendor will say, yes, we can do waterproof micro USB, and it's true, they can for something that's IPX7, or basically like barely waterproof, but not for swimming or not for anything you want to go to depth. So this unit here, I believe it's 50 or 100 meters, 100 meters deep, and it's got this really rather funky looking charging cable. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. That'll go ahead and it'll basically do the charging without having to break the seal on this itself. So that's going to slide in just like this there. It's magnetic, so you can see it's hanging by it. Hangs pretty well by it, really well by it actually. I'm probably pushing my luck. So there is that, and you got the sticker and the paper. So let's move this out of the way and look at some size comparisons. So over here on the pile of goods, I've got a bunch of stuff. So we'll start off with the Suunto stuff. Here is the Ambit 3 Vertical and Ambit 3 Traverse. Those watches both came out late last year, and the main difference between those and these that you'll notice is the satellite bump is gone. So this is the Ambit 3, Ambit 3 Peak, I think, and this is very similar to the Ambit 2 and Ambit 1 in terms of having this big satellite doohickey right there. Now on the bright side, the satellite doohickey gave really good satellite reception. So a lot of people tend to look at watches and they focus just on the GPS chip. They say, oh, it's MediaTek or Surf or whoever they want, and that's the defining factor. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's all about the antenna. So the antenna will decide whether or not you have a sucky GPS or a really good GPS. And so what we've seen thus far with the Ambit 3 Vertical and the Traverse is that it's not quite as good as the Ambit 3 Peak. So that's why I'm really interested to see how it handles on the Suunto Spartan Ultra. Now, it's not to say that you need a GPS bump, because you don't. There's plenty of other GPS watches that deliver awesome GPS accuracy without a bump, but it's something definitely to look at. So, you know, for example, the V800 good GPS accuracy, no bump. So let's talk about thickness. So we'll start off with the Ambit 3 Peak here and compare it to the Suunto Spartan Ultra. As far as I could say, they're virtually identical. Like, they're the same thickness, almost the same roundness. I know it's really hard for you to see that from that angle, but it's, and my hands are in the way. They're basically the same roundness, the same width. Essentially, you can take this watch, if you already have it, and know how big this watch will look on your wrist. The main difference, though, is now the top. So this is very clean, flush across the top, whereas this is down inset and not quite the same. Again, if we look at these other watches that came out last year, they're a little more similar to this, but there's still an inset there. It's more of a visual inset because the glass is actually above this inset right there, so it's not really the dip that you think it is. And then I've got an incoming call, which is showing up on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and decline that by just pretending to ignore it because I can't decline it here. So with that, those are kind of the comparisons to this. If you look at compared to these watches here, I'd say they're almost the same. No, this is actually a little thicker. This is slightly thicker than the Ambit 3 Vertical and the Traverse. You know, it's got a much nicer screen, so that's something to keep in mind. Then if we look at the V800, definitely way thicker than the V800. And the size, of course, you can see right there, it's definitely bigger, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And finally, the Phoenix 3, compared to the thickness there, it is thicker than the Phoenix 3. The actual size of the watch face is virtually identical, though, in terms of the roundness. The buttons on the Ultra, the Spartan do stick out a bit more, but not too much than the Phoenix 3. So those are some comparisons. At this point, we're ready to turn it on. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down a button and see if it's the right button. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's the middle button that powers it up. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let's see if it's actually got any juice on it. There we go. It's starting up, which is a great time to end this video. So stay tuned for more videos. Definitely hit the subscribe button down at the bottom there, and then you'll see all those videos automatically the second they hit my YouTube channel. They'll be in your inbox or your text or whatever you want, and hit the like button down below as well. Thanks for watching.